This question is not for any story. I'm not trying to like put you on the hot seat. It's really just for me because I know that you've like been on the media side. I just want to ask about like maybe your philosophy around MVP because I'm learning that everybody's got a different approach, right? Like they view the award differently. To you, what does MVP mean in the sense of like WNBA awards and things like that?
I think it's the most dominant player. Um, Not the most valuable for your team, the most valuable player, the best player, most dominant player in the league. Um, every team has an MVP, right? So you got to talk about a lot of different factors: offensive end, defensive end. Um, yeah, that's what I mean. And it's not, you can go back and forth like Jokic and Shea this last year.
Recording in
You know,
progress.
um, you could make an argument for either one. But I think it's about being the most dominant and putting that person on any team, and they're still the most dominant.
This, I guess, this is putting you in the hot seat now. But if I ask you, like, just if you had to put yourself in like a media seat, what would you think of like Asia's case for MVP? Because that's something people are talking a lot about as the team's improved and she's putting up these crazy dominant numbers.
Hmm.
People are like, well, why can't she be MVP? But there are some people that maybe disagree. I'm just wondering, like, where's your view on it?
Well, I think the media always makes their own narrative out of the gates. I mean, you know, Fee was winning it coming into this year. I think they made it up with Stewie winning it in 23, and they just decide. And instead of like really digging into the numbers, that's what I think most media people do. Now, some dig in, you know, um, and they're both having phenomenal years. There's no doubt. Um, the year we had the number one offense and the number one defense, Asia didn't get it. So people are gonna make their own decisions. Can't get caught up too much in it. We just got to go out and be about our business. Let Asia be Asia, and you know, I think anytime you have to start with the conversation starter is who's as good as Asia Wilson. You already have your answer.
And then as it pertains to today's game, you've obviously seen the Wings a few times this season, and the personnel on the court has been so different each time just because of their injuries and all these different things going on. Today, it's similar. Their injury report's got a lot of names on it. How does that impact your scout and just the way you approach?
I mean, it doesn't impact it except for in a few categories. You have a couple different options if Enrique gets going, defensively. Um, yeah, I know. So, but I'm saying a player like her stature, like it changes a few things that you would go to in plan B or C, right? Because she's just that good. Uh, but for the most part, like I said, we do a few things here and there. It's still mostly about our base and us executing at a high level our whatever the scheme is, defensively and offensively. And is there a few wrinkles in there that we think we should have in the pocket for Paige? Yep, she's that good. So you just go with the flow. I don't think injuries suck no matter what. You know, for a coach, anyways, big time for a coach. Sucks for the player, sucks for the team, but it's part of the game. So we just move on.
Okay, and then last one for me. The Wings coach, obviously, this is his first year, and I think he's dealt with like a lot of scrutiny around being a first year coach. I'm wondering, like, when you look back at your first year as a head coach, what are some of those like biggest lessons that you learned that still stick with you now that you've got all these accolades, like most wins, all these different things. But when you look back to your first year, what stands out?
Um, well, it's a big, you know, 12 inches over that seat, and all of a sudden you're making decisions that affect everybody. In game, off the court, there's always something to be done. Basically, there's a lot more just on your plate. Um, but I think for me, we had a lot of success out of the gate, you know, and that helped my buy-in with the players and stuff because they were like, oh, this works, and it's fun to play like this, up tempo, fast pace. Um, but we had early results. It's really hard when a first year coach doesn't have early results. Um, and that's any coach, any league, any gender. Like that early success can really help lay a groundwork. And when you don't have it, and I think of, uh, my guy Ime, his first year in Boston, they struggled kind of out of the gate, and then they end up going, as far as they did that year, which I think was the finals, or the Eastern Conference Finals at least. Um, but he just stuck with what he knew, and you got to ride out those rough stretches. This year has been way more challenging than my first year in a lot of ways. So every year kind of takes on its own characteristic, whether it's your first year or your second year. You're always in figuring it out mode. Um, so I think the rough start for the group with him specifically, it's really hard. I don't think it should necessarily be a direct reflection on the coach. You're implementing a lot of new players, a whole new system, a whole new staff. It's a lot of turnover. Um, and look, if it was that easy, everybody would be doing it. Like, it's not easy winning professional basketball games.
My first question is just having the sample size of the rookies. Just talk about
You got a
uh,
Reba shirt on?
yes,
Check
I
you
do.
out. Love Reba.
KSC is me too. But just talk about like how the three rookies, Zaza, JJ, and Paige, have stepped up to the plate. You know, as you just talked about the injuries and the turnovers and everything like that. during the season.
um, it's interesting that you say, obviously, we know Paige is amazing. Um, but Isaiah, she was high on my list, and so was JJ. Those were two players that we were very highly considering taking. Um, Isaiah, I think, watching her play in college and stuff, she makes pro moves and she makes it look easy. And I think that was one of the things that jumped off the page with her was just she was making really difficult moves look very easy and very fluid, and that's not easy to do, especially you don't see a lot of college players doing that. Um, I think she's going to be a heck of a player. Give her a couple of years under her belt, and um, you're going from playing against girls to grown women. There is a big difference. There is an adjustment um, period there, and JJ with her impact on the defensive end. I mean, I just love her tenacity, her grittiness, her gas pedal mode all the time, and her ability to get downhill. She has a real knack for getting into the paint. Um, I really liked both those players in college a lot.
Now my next question is kind of going back a little bit. Sue's getting her statue today. Just talk about, I mean, of course, you've talked about her many of times, but just talk about her being immortalized in this way and just her impact to the game overall.
Ooh. Um, Sue's impact is hard to measure, hard to put in words. You know, she's just constantly had eyes on her ever since she was, in high school at Christ King in New York. Um, she's just about winning, and I often use her as an example. She goes down as arguably the greatest point guard to ever play the game, and her first of all, let's just say she was super clutch. Like she loved big shots, big moments. Her pull up was money. Um, but her analyzation of the game, her feel for the game, but her ability to get greatness out of other people was probably her greatest skill set, um, above the big shots and this and that. Because there's so much more that goes into a game than she hit a big shot to win the game, which she had a lot of those. Um, it was her ability to pull greatness out of Lauren Jackson, out of Brianna Stewart, out of Jewel Lloyd, Swing Cat. I mean, you could Tina Thompson. I mean, um, to me, greatest point guard, but you got to start just talk about one of the greatest leaders our game has seen. Because to me, that's really where her imprint was. On a lot of those teams, if you just did, she was always kind of the motor and the brain behind the business. Um, but Lauren Jackson was the best player. Brianna Stewart was the best player. But who made them into like this greatness? It's like, you know, I go back to like know, you got Timmy and you got Tony, you got just Hall of Famers everywhere, but like they also needed each other in all that. And I just think um, her mind and her ability to unite people is what jumps off the page to me, anyways. Um, Besides all the winning that she did. I mean, I don't want to not give her credit there. I mean, she did a ton of winning. One of the all-time greatest winners, but it's because how she handled herself and handled her teammates in a lot of areas that the public will never know about.
Last question. We'll go to Andrew on Zoom. Final question.
Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Carly and Caroline. Coach, just want to ask you, speaking of throwbacks towards your great career, with Paige coming into town here, also you facing up against Carla late a few games ago, Erica Wheeler. Which players remind you of yourself and your great Hall of Fame playing career of the current WNBA players right now?
Oh, man. Don't make me spend time on that answer. um, I'll say this. Can we go back to Sue Bird real quick? I was shopping in New York a long time ago, obviously, when I played there, and somebody just came up to me, oh, yeah, yeah, I'm a huge fan of yours, Becky Bird. I was like, you got two of us mixed in. It's the same okay. And next, I was like, no, I'm not her. People that remind themselves of me. I don't know. I don't know. I have not looked at the league in the sense of like, yeah, I think competitiveness, motor wise, just that energy and will to win. I mean, I don't know. Next question. I don't know.
Yeah. And
Oh,
you,
thank God.
yep.
All right.
And you,
Thank you, Coach.